Time to face reality, guys. It is time to face reality. 2026 WNBA season is cooked. It's cooked where it's cooked like Thanksgiving food. It's all cooked. It is over. It's done. Finito. There will be no 2026 WNBA season.
The WNBA is officially on life support. Players are fleeing, owners are under investigation, and the league's future has never looked darker. But this isn't just about missed deadlines or failed negotiations. Something far bigger is happening behind the scenes. And when you see who's really pulling the strings, you'll understand why some people actually want this league to die. It all started with one simple deadline. October 31st, the final day for the WNBA and its players' union to extend the current CBA. That extension never came.
As it seems, we were hoping for a 60-day extension because we know the October 31st deadline is 3 days away. No extension has been signed. The last time that there was CBA negotiations and an extension had to be signed, it was signed 3 days before the deadline. We are now 3 days before, no extension agreed on, no negotiation movement. The 2026 season is cooked, and we have articles stating it here. It is over. They're not even getting an extension done. This is ridiculous, and I feel like there's some ulterior motive stuff going on with Unrivaled and a bunch of other nonsense that is stopping the WNBA 2026 season.
Radio silence. 3 days before the cutoff, the same window when they struck a deal last time, nothing happened. The Players Association wasn't budging. The league was scrambling. And fans who had waited all year to see Caitlin Clark dominate again were suddenly facing a nightmare. No 2026 season at all.
Let's go. I'm pissed. I wanted to see Caitlin Clark absolutely destroy these ladies this season. I was ready to watch her cook them. Now, you're telling me we can't even get an extension done. This is wild.
Carly Bell, who's been tracking the talks closely, dropped a bomb on social media. We all knew the CBA wouldn't be resolved. That was expected. But with these public jabs between the W and the Players Association, an extension might not happen at all. Those public jabs weren't just harsh words. They were open shots at the NBA's top boss, Adam Silver.
The Filippo reported that the WNBA has offered players a 30-day extension to continue negotiations for a new collective bargaining agreement. An extension before the current CBA expires Friday would allow both sides more time to work toward a new deal, even though if one is not implemented, both parties could continue to negotiate in good faith. If an extension is not reached, it could open the door for a potential work stoppage, either a strike initiated by the players or a lockout initiated by the owners. A source said the players might be willing to consider an extension under the right circumstances, but they feel those circumstances do not yet exist. And that line in this article is the one that stood out to me, because basically the players at this point in time are saying they're not sure if they're even going to accept the offer of an extension.
The players' union literally trolled the NBA commissioner online. And you know what happens when you publicly embarrass the man who controls your funding? Yeah, it never ends well. But why would they risk everything? Because there's power in not signing. There's profit in letting chaos unfold. Enter a new name, Unrivaled. A flashy 3-on-3 league created by Brianna Stewart and Nafisa Collier. Players are already signing contracts. Investors are pouring in millions. And suddenly, every headline about the WNBA's collapse pushes Unrivaled further into the spotlight. Think about the timing. The WNBA's deal collapses just as Unrivaled surges. No WNBA season means every player looking for income and attention goes there. More exposure, more control, more money. This isn't bad luck. It's negotiation warfare. The players have leverage now. They're telling the league, give us everything we want, or we'll just go somewhere else. And while that might sound bold, the real twist makes it darker. Because at the exact same time, the NBA, the WNBA's money lifeline, is being hit with a massive federal gambling investigation. Adam Silver himself is meeting with investigators on October 31st, the same day as the WNBA deadline. Coincidence? Not a chance. The NBA brings in around $10 billion a year. The WNBA barely touches $200 million. So when the feds come knocking, where do you think Silver's attention goes? Right, to protecting the billion-dollar empire, not the struggling sister league. With Silver distracted, the WNBA's left hanging. Its injury reports are now being reviewed by federal agencies. Sponsors are nervous. The commissioner's office is silent. And that silence is killing the league faster than anything. But what really makes this story explode is the manipulation happening right in front of fans. Nafisa Collier, co-founder of Unrivaled, suddenly can't stop mentioning Caitlin Clark. Every interview, every post, Caitlin this, Caitlin that.
Nafisa Collier continues to use Caitlin Clark when it comes to these CBA negotiations, and it's quite obvious why. She is the only leverage, the only type of leverage that the Players Association has. She is the only bargaining chip the players have that the owners look at and say, I'm not sure if we really want to lose that. That's it. And the second reason, well, because if they didn't use Caitlin Clark's name when it comes to these negotiations, if they didn't use Caitlin Clark's name when it comes into these articles, when it comes to these interviews, when it comes, hey, I'm asking for a couple of your comments. If they don't use Caitlin Clark's names in these instances, well then, nobody's going to pay attention to it.
Yet when Clark was getting slammed and cheap-shotted last season, where was that energy? Nowhere. Now that Unrivaled needs publicity, suddenly, Caitlin's the poster girl. Collier even claimed she spoke privately with Commissioner Kathy Engelbert about protecting Caitlin. But when reporters asked Caitlin about it, she flat out said she'd never heard of those talks. That's not advocacy, that's strategy. Attach yourself to the biggest name in the sport. Pretend to protect her. Use her fame to sell your own league. Meanwhile, Caitlin's sitting in the middle of this mess. The one athlete who's done nothing but raise the sport's profile. And she's being used as a bargaining chip. She didn't ask to be the face of the league. She didn't start these fights. But now, the league she carried might vanish because of power games happening above her head. So what happens next? Two paths, and neither looks good. Path 1, an extension. Both sides agree to more time, everyone calms down, and negotiations continue. But that only works when there's trust. Right now, there's none. Path 2, the status quo limbo. The contract expires, but nobody officially strikes. Technically, the old rules don't apply, yet the league just floats. Players train, owners wait, until one side finally says, enough. That's when we hit the nuclear option, a work stoppage. Either the owners lock the players out, or the players refuse to play until every demand is met. And believe it or not, politicians are already circling. New York power brokers, future governors, all trying to pressure one side or the other. When politics show up to a sports fight, you know things are ugly. But underneath all the noise, it always comes back to money. Nafisa Collier's raised millions for Unrivaled. Investors expect results. Imagine convincing people to hand you $20 million and then saying, actually, I'm going back to play in the WNBA full time. Those investors would sue you into oblivion. So Collier needs Unrivaled to win, even if that means letting the WNBA burn. That's the dirty truth nobody wants to admit. The WNBA spent 25 years losing money to build a platform. And now, the very players it made famous are using that platform to build something that could replace it. The hand that fed them is being bitten. And the real tragedy? The WNBA was finally winning. The 2024 season shattered every record. Ratings, attendance, merchandise, sponsorships. It was working. Fans were showing up. Little girls were buying jerseys. Caitlin Clark had turned a struggling league into must-see television. For the first time ever, women's basketball felt unstoppable. Now, all of that momentum is slipping away. Not because of lack of talent, but because of greed, ego, and backroom power plays. Caitlin Clark stayed professional. She never picked sides. She just wanted to play basketball. But the people who should have protected her turned the league into a chessboard. And she's the queen everyone's trying to use. If the 2026 season dies, those new fans, they won't wait around. They'll move on. And the league may never recover. So maybe the WNBA isn't dead yet. But it's bleeding out fast. And if it falls, it won't be because of the fans. It'll be because of the people inside who thought they could play both sides and win. If you're still watching, drop "Save the WNBA" in the comments. Let's see how many still believe this league can be saved.
Yeah, well, I'm just obviously really thankful for Gainbridge and everything that they do, not only in women's sports, but just sports in general. It's tremendous, and I feel very lucky to be a partner of theirs, and sports unites people, and that's kind of what this feels like too. It's just bringing people together where they can find joy in something.
Caitlin Clark just did what even Tiger Woods couldn't. One swing, one record, and one jaw-dropping moment that left the entire golf world in disbelief. Fans screamed, cameras flashed, and even Tiger himself looked on, speechless. But the real shock isn't just that Caitlin Clark broke a golf world record. It's who stayed silent while the world cheered. It all began on a breezy Friday morning at the RSM Classic Pro-Am, a friendly celebrity golf tournament that suddenly turned into a worldwide event. It wasn't supposed to be special, just a relaxed off-season moment for athletes and celebrities. But then one name appeared on the lineup, Caitlin Clark, and that changed everything.
They are going to do what's best for business. Unlike the WNBA, let's be clear here. It's just so funny, and I said this in a video before. Every league understands the value of Caitlin Clark. Every single league, and we're going to get into this article. Every single league, from Major League Baseball, the NFL, the NBA, everybody seems to understand the value that Caitlin Clark brings to the table, except guess who? Except who? The league she plays in, the WNBA. Kathy, in my opinion, this is the reason you gotta go.
By sunrise, fans were already lined up outside the gates. Golf tickets sold out faster than ever before. For the first time in the tournament's history, there were more Caitlin Clark jerseys than golf hats in the crowd. Every camera, every reporter, every fan. They weren't there for Tiger or for any LPGA legend. They were there for her. When the announcer's voice echoed through the speakers, from the University of Iowa, now representing the Indiana Fever, please welcome Caitlin Clark. The crowd erupted, but then came silence. You could hear the wind brushing through the grass. She took her stance, steady and calm. And when she swung, boom! The sound of that first drive echoed like thunder, straight, clean, powerful. Her very first shot landed beyond 270 yards. Reporters rushed in, fans screamed, cameras flashed. Tiger Woods smiled from the sidelines. Steph Curry turned to a reporter and said, "That's the best first swing I've ever seen." And just like that, the basketball queen was suddenly the hottest name in golf. Golf Digest called her the most natural crossover athlete since Michael Jordan. ESPN's headline read, "Caitlin Clark just changed golf forever." But while the golf world opened its arms to her, the WNBA world grew strangely quiet. As the internet exploded with clips of her perfect drive, fans began to notice something. Some of Caitlin's biggest rivals, Angel Reese, Aja Wilson, even a few WNBA teammates, had said nothing. No tweets, no congratulations, just silence. It felt familiar, because all season long, Caitlin had been criticized, fouled hard, and at times ignored by her own league. Many fans believed the WNBA was trying to quiet the noise, to limit her spotlight instead of celebrating it. Now, the same athlete they once tried to humble was breaking records in a different sport, and the people who once called her privileged suddenly had nothing to say. As one fan commented, every media outlet in the world is talking about Caitlin Clark, and the WNBA still acts like she doesn't exist. Meanwhile, the golf community embraced her like a hero. LPGA star, Nelly Korda walked right up to Caitlin and said, "You're welcome here, you belong here." Another pro, Maria Fassi, told reporters, "Caitlin's energy is pure. She brings a fire we've been missing." In basketball, she'd been treated like an outsider. In golf, she was treated like royalty. And that contrast between rejection and recognition only made her next moment even more historic. Hole 7, a par 4, where even pros sometimes miss the green. The crowd went silent again. Caitlin Clark adjusted her stance, her eyes locked on the flag. The wind picked up. She exhaled one deep breath and swung. The ball soared through the air like it was guided by destiny. It landed perfectly on the fairway, rolled, and stopped within inches of the cup. Gasps, cheers, pure chaos. Commentators couldn't believe it. She wasn't just good, she was elite. When the round ended, Caitlin finished 13 under par, breaking the Pro-Am's all-time record. Let that sink in. A basketball player walked into golf and broke a world record on her very first try. Tiger Woods, standing off to the side, told reporters, "That was one of the cleanest, most confident swings I've ever seen from a non-pro." And Steph Curry joked on Twitter, "Caitlin Clark might just be better than me at this point." Within minutes, Caitlin Clark Golf was trending #1 worldwide. Golf Digest, ESPN, Bleacher Report. Every outlet had the same headline. She did what Tiger Woods never could. But it wasn't just about the swing. It was about what it represented. Event organizers said ticket demand increased 1,200% the moment Caitlin was announced. Everywhere she goes, the numbers follow. Attendance, ratings, merchandise. They call it the Caitlin effect. And this time, even Tiger Woods was part of it. Later that day, Caitlin sat down for an interview. She smiled and said, "I came here just to have fun, but I guess I can't stop competing." Her parents watched proudly from the crowd, tears in their eyes. Her mom said, every time she picks up something new, she gives her whole heart to it. And that's the difference. While others tried to tear her down, Caitlin just kept showing up, proving that greatness doesn't depend on where you play, but how you play. In basketball, she was criticized for stealing headlines. In golf, she was celebrated for making history. She didn't switch sports, she switched the narrative. Because here's the truth, Caitlin Clark didn't just hit a record-breaking shot. She shattered expectations again. And in doing so, she reminded the world what real talent looks like when it's not held back by politics or jealousy. That single drive wasn't just a highlight, it was a statement. For years, people have told female athletes to stay in their lane, but Caitlin Clark just showed the world that there is no lane. She's not just a basketball player anymore. She's a movement, a living, breathing example of what happens when you refuse to be boxed in. So now the question is, will she train with golf pros? Could she compete in future PGA or LPGA events? Or is this just the beginning of something even bigger? Because if this was just a casual day off, imagine what happens when she actually tries. Caitlin Clark didn't just swing a golf club. She swung open a door. For every woman who's ever been told, you don't belong here. And she didn't need a league, a coach, or a spotlight to do it. Just her drive, literally. If you're still watching, drop GOATSWING in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe, because this isn't the end of Caitlin Clark's story. It's just the beginning of her legend.
The biggest hurdle that Caitlin Clark needs to overcome is her head coach. The biggest obstacle holding Caitlin Clark back from picking up where she left off after her rookie season, after her career at Iowa, the biggest obstacle in the way of her returning to that form is her head coach. Now, we saw Stephanie White lose the battle to the WNBA mob long ago. If you can't beat them, join them. And Stephanie White has joined them.
The Indiana Fever locker room just exploded. And at the center of it all is Caitlin Clark's relationship that no one saw coming. For weeks, the internet has been buzzing with rumors, whispers, and wild speculation about tension inside the Fever. Fans were convinced something had gone wrong between Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell. Some said jealousy, others said betrayal. But the real story is far more shocking.
Well, my goodness, this is rather interesting that Sue Bird has brought this up to Kelsey Mitchell in light of some of the drama from a couple of days ago when Stephanie White was very clear and there was no confusion looking at anybody out there, including people on YouTube, that may think that was misconstrued, even though Stephanie White is the one that said these things.
It started with a few simple words from head coach Stephanie White, words that instantly tore the locker room in half. In one moment, the coach declared Kelsey Mitchell as the team's absolute priority. The reaction? Chaos. Fans flooded social media asking, what about Caitlin Clark? How could a generational star, the biggest name in women's basketball, suddenly feel like an afterthought?
But what people have been pointing out lately is that Stephanie White's allegiance to Kelsey Mitchell, Stephanie White's allowance of Kelsey Mitchell to have a green light we could only dream that Caitlin Clark has. And I'm a Money Mitch guy. You know I'm a Money Mitch, put him in a ditch. You know I love Money Mitch. But this is true. Kelsey Mitchell's green light is far greener than Caitlin Clark's. Kelsey Mitchell's able to get away with things on the basketball court that Caitlin Clark cannot get away with because of the green light that Stephanie White has given her.
But what if this entire relationship shocker was never about a feud at all, but a story of trust, respect, and leadership, completely twisted by public perception? Because once you hear what really happened behind closed doors, everything changes. It all began when Stephanie White faced the media, confidently naming Kelsey Mitchell as her top focus for the future.
With the offseason too, Amber mentioned in her exit interview that the number one priority was to land Kelsey in free agency again. Just how important was she to your team this year? How important has she been to the Fever? Obviously, the 8 years she's been with the franchise, and how badly do you want to keep her around?
I mean, yeah, she was the number one priority a year ago, and she's the number one priority this year. She's been so important. And, I said this last year, Kelsey deserves to go through this stage of her Indiana Fever career.
Her words hit like a wrecking ball. Fans were stunned. Analysts compared it to the Chicago Bulls building around Scottie Pippen instead of Michael Jordan, a clear mismatch in logic. The Indiana Fever had Caitlin Clark, a once-in-a-generation Jordan-level talent. And yet, the message from leadership seemed to say otherwise. Instantly, the internet took sides. Clark supporters felt betrayed. Mitchell loyalists defended their star. And the WNBA community started speculating about a possible feud between the two guards. The narrative exploded. The coach had chosen her favorite, and now the team chemistry was doomed. But what people didn't know was that behind the scenes, the truth looked completely different. Because while the media tried to paint Caitlin Clark as the rising diva and Kelsey Mitchell as the overlooked veteran, both players were quietly proving the opposite. When the tension reached its boiling point, Sue Bird stepped in. On her Bird's Eye View podcast, she sat down with Kelsey Mitchell to address the elephant in the room, the so-called relationship drama. Everyone expected fireworks. Instead, they got honesty. Kelsey Mitchell didn't dodge the question. She didn't blame anyone. Instead, she spoke from the heart. She said that when Caitlin Clark joined the team, the entire organization had to adjust. The spotlight was blinding. The media attention was overwhelming. But through all of it, Caitlin never acted like she was bigger than the program. In Kelsey's own words, she never tried to take over. She wasn't trying to be bigger than anybody.
I talked to, the Fever organization about this. It's like I think it was an adjustment period that, we all should have adjusted to throughout the course of the organization. I think that, that was big for everybody. Pacers Entertainment, Fever organization. I felt like at that time, there was a lot of, role playing that had to be, situated. I feel like, that when something that big or someone that big who has that much impact comes into something, there are a lot of adjustments that people have to make on the floor, off the floor, in the locker room, in the training room. Just a lot of stuff, is a lot of moving parts. And I think the biggest part that I respected about Caitlin is that she never was bigger than the program. I don't know if that makes sense, but like, it wasn't like she wasn't trying to take over. It wasn't, I don't know how to explain that. You know what I'm trying to say though?
Those simple sentences flipped the entire story upside down, because the supposed rivalry was actually a partnership, one built on mutual respect and shared love for the game. Mitchell described Clark as like my little sister. They joked, practiced together, pushed each other to be better.
The time I've spent with Caitlin, like, she definitely has like, oh, you're like my little sister.
Yes.
Because she likes to, like, talk about basketball and kind of troll a little bit. Yeah,
goodness.
exactly.
You're talking about a kid in the candy store, and that's Caitlin.
What fans thought was animosity was actually chemistry, the kind of relationship that turns good teams into great ones. On the court, that chemistry was undeniable. Clark's deep shooting and elite passing opened space for Mitchell's quick scoring bursts. Together, they became one of the most dangerous backcourts in the league. And when Clark was sidelined with injury, the numbers told the story. Aaliyah Boston's production dropped dramatically without Clark feeding her the ball. The Fever's rhythm disappeared. Clark wasn't just a scorer. She was the team's catalyst. And Kelsey knew it. But in Clark's absence, Mitchell carried the entire franchise on her shoulders. She grinded through games, playing massive minutes, sometimes until she literally collapsed from exhaustion. This was no feud. This was sacrifice. It became painfully clear that while the players had built something powerful, the organization around them was the real problem. Fans felt deceived. The Fever were accused of hiding details about Clark's injury to keep selling tickets. Thousands of supporters spent money hoping to see their star return, only to watch the team stay silent week after week. The trust between the franchise and its fans began to crack. Online, fans weren't just angry about Caitlin's health. They were furious at the entire management. The same people who preached team unity were now the ones sowing division through mixed messages and secrecy. Meanwhile, Clark and Mitchell stayed united. Even when outsiders doubted them, their friendship never wavered. Clark praised Mitchell publicly. Mitchell defended Clark privately. Together, they proved what everyone on the outside refused to see. The real relationship shocker wasn't between the players. It was between the truth and the media's obsession with drama. As one analyst put it, the Fever's stars fit perfectly. It's management that doesn't. And that single line summed up the entire situation. The players were aligned, the fans were passionate, but leadership seemed lost. And now, as Kelsey Mitchell's free agency looms, that tension could define the Fever's entire future. Will she stay loyal to her sisterhood with Caitlin Clark, or walk away from a team that can't get out of its own way? In the end, the real story of Caitlin Clark's relationship shocker isn't one of betrayal or jealousy. It's about perception, it's about leadership, and it's about how easily the truth can get lost in the noise. Because when Stephanie White made her comments, fans only heard one thing: disrespect toward their hero. But what she may have meant as support for a veteran quickly spiraled into chaos, amplified by headlines hungry for clicks. Yet, through all of that noise, the people inside the locker room, the ones who actually mattered, stayed together. Kelsey Mitchell stood by Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark continued to uplift her teammates. And Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey, and Caitlin formed one of the most dangerous trios in the entire league. They proved that what really ruins teams isn't relationships between players. It's the relationships between truth and perception. The Indiana Fever could become the face of women's basketball for an entire generation. But that will only happen if the organization stops creating chaos where there is none, and finally starts building around the star who changed everything. Because at this point, Caitlin Clark isn't just part of the Fever, she is the Fever. And if the franchise forgets that, it won't be her relationships that ruin everything. It'll be theirs. If you're still watching, drop Clark forever
About to
in the
get messy.
comments.